Hey, I'm Brian Van, SportbikeTrackU.com, and today we're going to install a set of the brand new Michelin Power 5 tires on one of our staff member, Jake's 2016 Yamaha R6. Here we are with another episode of The Boss is Working on My Bike. Jake's one of our sales guys. We're happy to have him here. He does a fantastic job for us. He wanted to try a set of those new Power 5s. He scooped them up and I said, I will mount them. The full install of the bike is right here. So we're gonna use this video as an opportunity to show you the process that I would go through when installing a new set of tires on a street bike. Okay, you can use this to help you get the same project done. Interesting side note. How many bosses do you think go out in the shop and work on their guys' bikes? All right, we've got a 22 mil socket. We've got the axle nut over here on the clutch side of the bike. I've had a couple R6s myself. Pretty familiar with this. I like to first break loose the axle nut. That whole axle tool, you don't need that thing. And I'm going to show you during this video why exactly you do not need that axle tool on this bike. Loosen up the pinch bolts now. Those are 6. I've got those on a Long Motion Pro 3/8 drive spinner T-handle. Once I've got this done, we will then pull the calipers off. Got a 12 millimeter socket here on a 3/8 drive ratchet. Go ahead and pull the caliper off. Oh, man, you know what? It's been a long time since I worked on a bike that had a reflector on the front. That's interesting. Got a 5 mil T-handle. Well, that's funny. Take a quick look at the brake pads while you're in here. Never a bad idea to do that. Go over to the other side. Grab this caliper. Okay. Now we're ready to pull the axle. Got my pit crew tire wedge. What this does is just basically, it's going to hold it on the same level that it needs to be on. Just literally roll it right in there. We're ready to reinstall it. I'm going to pull the spacers. Thankfully, his wheel is not too dirty. When I come back, we will be over on the tire machine. Okay, I'm not going to be spooning these on. We're going to use the tire machine. First thing we're going to do is pull the valve stem core. Then we need to break the bead. Okay. Okay, get the bead broken. Let's get it up here on the machine. Want to go around and make sure you've got the bead broken all the way around. Pull them up. Front tire, you want to make sure you double check the rotation. One of the easiest ways to tell what the right direction is, okay? The spokes are hollow on the back side, so it's rotating this way. Here's the arrow on our Michelin Power 5. Important to note that the Power 5 tire, there is no valve stem mark on this, okay? It's pretty much a Michelin thing. I'll put just a little bit of bead loop here. Usually get the first side to go over. Super important to put good pressure down here and make sure you continue that. You don't want to let the bead get caught, like so. Got a leaky nozzle here. Need to get that sorted out. Would have been nice if you would have ponied up for a set of angle valve stems. The straight one's just a little tougher to get to. Make sure you've got your valve stem core tight. I am not going to set the pressure for him. I'm going to overinflate these to probably about 40. And then we'll let Jake do his own research and set them wherever he thinks is most appropriate for his riding style. All right, now let's get it mounted up on the balancer. Notice I took out the wheel spacers. Those are back over by the bike. And make sure you've got the cones held in there firmly, so you don't have a lot of slop, like so. Get it up here on the balancer. First thing we're gonna have to do, because his wheels are kind of nappy, I have to clean them a little bit. I'm gonna have to get another pack of rags. I almost coughed because I inhaled some of that Formula 409, but then I thought to myself, everyone's going to think I got the Corona apocalypse if I start coughing right now. So I'm just going to hold it. Okay, got the wheel cleaned up a little bit. Let's start off by holding, the wheel weights are right here currently, okay? We're going to hold the tire in this position. We're going to let it go and see what it wants to do. And clearly it's falling, so it's heavier here. So we need to remove the wheel weights. This is kind of dry, but got a little scraper here to allow me to get under them. Better to use something that's softer than the wheel, right? I've seen people use screwdrivers. The screwdriver does a great job of getting the wheel weight off, but it also is pretty tough on the wheel. So this is a much better way to get that done. We're gonna go off camera again, and it's just for me to remove the wheel weight tape. That's always a joyous occasion. Okay, once I've got the weights off, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of let the wheel settle, right? The heaviest spot is going to settle at the very bottom. Naturally, the lightest spot will be settled at the top. From there, we're gonna go through a little process of trial and error to determine how many wheel weight segments we need in order to get this thing in balance. Little patience here goes a long way, helps you get a good result. And as soon as it settles, I'm gonna mark the tire with a Sharpie. Kind of like watching paint dry, isn't it? Okay, these pieces are kind of dried out. We'll start off with a fresh piece. So this is 90 degrees. All right, spot I marked. Got 3 segments there. And you can see it still wants to pull down on the other side, okay? So it's still heavier over there. I'll lift up the tape, and we're just gonna keep adding pieces to this. Okay, an idea where we want to start. Let's see how big these are. All right, let's see what we got here. That's a win all day. That looks great. All right, we're gonna put a piece of duct tape on here to make sure the wheel weight stays on the wheel. This is something we do for all of our track stuff. Jake may or may not be okay with this. If he wants to take it off, that is his choice. When I come back, we'll be back over at the bike, mounting our front wheel. Okay, let's get our wheel spacers back in. I wiped those off real quick. They're a little grimy. Took a look at the seals, everything, make sure it all looks good. Don't see anything there to be concerned about. This Pitbull Pit Crew tire wedge really does make this process a little easier because all you have to do is just get it lined up and roll it back into place like so. It's gonna kind of hold itself there. Something I like to do with the axle, front and rear, is I like to clean it and lube it with a little Maxima MPPL. Notice I'm not getting this surface here, just getting the surface that goes through the wheel. Right, you can see it actually cleans it off a little bit, and it's also going to make sure it's lubricated. Pass that through. Then we get our axle nut. Thread that in. I'm going to loosen up that pit crew tire wedge. And we'll grab the 22 mil socket. Now I'm just holding the axle with my fingers on the other side. There is proper torque. What I like to do is just run them all down, just until they seat like so. And then I'll torque them evenly. If you prefer to use a torque wrench here, by all means do so. Once I get these done, we'll go ahead and hit the calipers. Slide those over. We can start the one on the bottom. Up here on top, we need to, of course, get our reflector back. Pass through the fender, then we have to get the washer. I'm sorry, the nut for the backside of the bolt. Okay. For the calipers, what I like to do is I like to run them down by hand and then just back it off just a tiny little bit. We're going to do this on both sides. And I'll show you a little trick I like to use to make sure it's perfectly centered. Right there. Go to the other side. Brake pads on this side look okay too. Reflector. Get that started. And make sure the caliper bolts run down. Back that off just a little bit. I will not be torquing the caliper bolts either. If you prefer to do that, now would be a great time to get your torque wrench. Make sure your brake is pumped up. I'm gonna spin the wheel like so, and I'm holding the brake lever now. Get these tight, then I'll pass over them one more time. Let's just kind of make sure everything's centered up. Not a big deal. Like so. Put that reflector. You don't really need a backup wrench on that. It kind of bites. Able to get it perfectly tight. We'll do the same here on the other side, and then we'll jump to the back and work on the rear tire. Okay, now we're gonna jump on the rear. Let's go ahead and get that rear axle. That was definitely not tightened with a torque wrench last time. And now we can head over to the tire machine. Okay, onto the rear tire, which is a mirror image of what we did on the front. Go ahead and get your stem core. There we go. Now get a little bead lube. Okay, let's find our directional arrow. It is right here, rear that way. Okay, remember the spokes are hollow on the back side. The closed part goes towards the front. So right here. Super important to keep the pressure down. Get bead seated. I gotta tell you, this really makes you appreciate having the 90-degree valve stems. Make sure your stem core is tight. Okay, don't want to bore you with the details like we did on the front, right? I already let this one settle after removing the weights and cleaning the wheel, okay? And, well, it's gonna be right here. I think I can remember that. That is gonna be our light spot. Kind of bring it down here. Let's see how hard it takes off. This one is taking off a little harder than the front did, so it's probably going to need a little more weight. It is definitely gonna need a little more weight. Let's see what we got here. Some pieces hanging around. I might actually need to set up another piece of tape here. Well, we're close. We are close. Let's see what I got here. I think that's going to be the number. We had a total of 10. All right, let's check it. Somebody's outside doing wheelies on the ground. Max van. That looks great. We'll tape it off and go back to the bike and reinstall it. All right, let's put the bumpers in for the cush. Make sure your spacer is installed. Super important. Cush drive. That bad boy line up. Thing's nasty. Just gonna wipe the heavy stuff off here. Reinstall that. Make sure your caliper, it's really important too to make sure that that is in the groove. And get this lined up so it'll pass through the brake pads. Like so. Make sure your spacers, everything stays in. Right here, grab your chain. Tire's a little taller, so you have to back this off just a little bit. There we go. That's how much that other one was worn down. The whole center was gone out of that thing. Okay, now let's get a little MPPL. Go ahead and get that axle lubed up. Boy, somebody's gonna make a comment about that, that's for sure. All right. Like so. Washer, lock nut. If you are also using the Pit Crew tire wedge, now is the time you want to back it off. You need to be able to spin the wheel freely. What I like to do here is I like to take a wrench and I like to wedge it in between the sprocket and the chain. Like so. That just makes sure that you are firmly against your axle adjuster blocks. Properly torqued. Go ahead and get our wrench out of there. I'm gonna give his chain a quick check. That's for Jake to do. And we are done. I'm gonna give this the once over before he takes it out. Super important, okay? Before you take the motorcycle off for a ride, we kind of already did this on the front. I want you to pump up that front brake lever. Make sure you have good brake pressure, okay? Can't afford to go out there with no brakes. Do the same thing on the rear. Just pump that. Make sure the pads are in contact with where you've got great brake pressure. Something that's really important to understand, brand new street tires. Every brand is a little different, okay? These Michelins don't really look like there's gonna be a whole lot of like mold release, or they're gonna be, you know, to the slippery side when they're new. Anytime you have new tires, make sure you get your tire pressure set to whatever you feel is gonna be most appropriate. and then take your time to scuff the tires in. Don't go out there and put your knee down right away, because they're not going to have the same level of grip until they're scuffed that the tires you took off did. It's important to note that. Just give them a little bit of time, get the edges scuffed, get the center scuffed before you really get after it. The last thing you want to do is have a tire cause a crash because you didn't take time to scuff it at all. It's a little bit different with race rubber. Race rubber, you just go ahead and put the tires on, throw the warmers on. You go in the first corner with your knee on the ground. The street tires can be a little different. It's important that you respect that. So there you go. There's one of the greatest benefits of working with Sportbike track gear is, you know what? You need a set of tires. Your boss will mount those up for you. Do you think that would happen at RevZilla, Cycle Gear, Motosport? I don't know. There are a lot of great places too, great businesses, but there's only one STG. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments section of this video. And I'm going to ask Jake too, after he rides on these for a while, to give us some feedback. Jake's a really good rider. He does a hell of a wheelie on this R6. I can guarantee you that much. We're going to get Jake's feedback. We'll do a short video with Jake so he can break down his thoughts on the all-new Michelin Power 5.